Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is August 15th, 2020. This is a special meeting of the members of the State Liquor Authority being held in Albany and also remotely. We have by phone Chairman Bradley. Chairman Bradley?
I'm here.
Okay. We also have, it can be seen on video, Commissioners Ford and Commissioners Span. We also have on video General Counsel Meyerhoff, and then by phone, Deputy Commissioner of Licensing Roberts,
Hey, Tom, I'm here.
and myself, Secretary Donahue, here in the Albany office. We have 6 items on today's calendar. There are requests from Council's office for emergency summary orders of suspension. And we'll get right to them. The first item, 929 AAAA. It's Oneida OP 2504 009. The licensee is Robert Patrick Seward.
Good afternoon, members. This is Kayla O'Donnell on behalf of Council's office. Council's office seeks an emergency order of summary suspension for a licensee who has been found to be blatantly ignoring the governor's executive orders. Yesterday, 2 SLA investigators, Investigator Figueroa and Investigator Benedetto, conducted an undisclosed visit at the premises, which is licensed as a tavern, restaurant, and Utica. During this visit, the investigators observed at least a dozen patrons standing at the bar while consuming alcoholic beverages. None of the patrons inside the licensed premises were wearing masks. The patrons were not social distancing, and Investigator Benedetto had to squeeze between 2 patrons at the bar in order to order alcoholic beverages from the bartender. The bartender was also not wearing a face covering as required. Investigator Benedetto was not required or even requested to purchase any food to receive his alcoholic beverages, and he did not observe any other patrons with food, although he did observe an individual walk through the front door carrying 2 to 3 pizzas and set those pizzas on the back table. As you can see in the photos in the record before you, the patrons are standing, they're mingling, socializing, they're hugging, and none of them are wearing masks. Based on the observations made, the licensee is being charged with violating Executive Orders 202.3, 202.43, 202.16, and 202.52, as well as for failure to supervise. Notably, the licensee's sole principal has been the sole principal for 20 years and should be held to a higher standard for being aware of the laws and making sure the law and executive orders are followed, given his expertise in the restaurant industry. However, here, the licensee blatantly disregarded the governor's orders, putting the patrons and investigators in danger, because if even one person in this small bar area had the coronavirus, many other people in the bar would catch it. And given the lack of social distancing and the failure by every patron in the premises and employee to wear a mask, it would be likely that this virus would be spread. These executive orders are designed to prevent the spread of this highly contagious virus, and a summary suspension of this license is required to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the patrons, employees, their families, and this community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla. This is Gary. Yes, the scene here is reminiscent of what we would see in what has been called super spreader events around the country, where all you need is one person with the virus and they'll all get it. And it might even be communicated by the employees who are talking directly to each of the patrons. 24 to 26 people just at this bar alone. Thank you.
All right, with that, Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Chairman Bradley, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
All right, then, with that, I'll call for your votes. First, we'll go to Commissioner Fan.
The licensee has violated the governor's executive order with the evidence presented. I find that there is imminent threat to public health, safety, and welfare, and I vote to summarily suspend this license.
All right, Commissioner Ford.
I vote to suspend as well for all the reasons stated by Commissioner Fan.
And Chairman Bradley, your vote.
I vote to summarily suspend. This is absolutely pathetic. That what the pictures depict here is absolutely pathetic. They're acting as if there's no risk to anybody, and the licensee is clearly allowing it to happen. This place should not be open going further.
All right, then, we'll go to the next item, which is 929 BBBB, Herkimer OP 2606003, Gadget Creek Road LLC.
Good afternoon, Chairman Bradley, Commissioners Fan and Ford, Senior Attorney Karamanal here on this request for emergency summary order suspension for Side Street, case number 145234. The original license issue date on this one is September 26th of 2007. Last night, Friday, August 14th, 2020 at approximately 6:20 p.m., investigators Figueroa and Benedetto observed patrons entering and exiting the premises without wearing facial coverings. Upon entering the premises in an undisclosed manner, the investigators observed a crowd of approximately 30 patrons, of which 19 were standing and congregating in the bar area, consuming alcoholic beverages and not social distancing. None of the patrons were observed wearing facial coverings. None of the patrons were observed eating food. One staffer was observed wearing facial covering improperly, covering only her chin. Investigators Figueroa and Benedetto purchased 2 Coors Light beers and were never offered, much less required, to purchase food to go along with their alcohol purchase. The licensee is being charged with violating Executive Order 202.16, 202.3, as well as failure to supervise these violations. The need for licensees to ensure that they sell food to every patron ordering alcoholic beverages and ensure their patrons are practicing proper social distancing and face mask usage is essential to the governor's executive orders in the name of public health and safety, and has been widely reported via media sources. As a result, it's the position of the Office of Counsel. It's simply not reasonable to believe that a licensed retailer could be unaware of his responsibilities to ensure proper face mask usage by patrons as well as staff, and to ensure food is sold to every patron ordering alcoholic beverages during the reopening. It's therefore the opinion of the Office of Counsel licensee was fully aware of his responsibilities under the governor's executive orders, but merely chose to attempt to circumvent the requirements in an effort to gain more customers at the expense of his more responsible competitors who have chosen to follow the rules. Due to the foregoing, the Office of Counsel hereby requests an immediate summary order suspension be issued for this licensee. Thank you.
Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
And Commissioner Ford, what about you?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Chairman Bradley.
No questions.
All right, with that, we'll call for the vote. First, Commissioner Fan.
This licensee, as counsel outlined, has violated multiple of the governor's executive order designed to prevent the spread of COVID-19. With the evidence presented, I find that there is imminent threat to public health, safety, and welfare, and I vote to summarily suspend this license.
All right, Commissioner Ford.
Patrons entering and exiting without masks, standing, consuming at the bar, playing pool, which I don't think is allowed right now. Investigators never offered or told food was required. So for those reasons, as well as what Commissioner Fan said, I vote to summarily suspend.
Chairman Bradley.
I mean, this is identical to the last one. Based on the pictures, this is absolutely pathetic. Council used the word circumventing the executive orders. They're not circumventing them. They're absolutely blatantly ignoring them. I don't see one mask anywhere in any of these pictures, even on the bar. So, I mean, they're acting as if there is absolutely no risk to anyone. There is no choice here but to summarily suspend. And I don't see how a place like this could remain open during these conditions and follow these rules based on what I'm seeing and what's been described here.
Okay, then, next item is 929 CCCC, New York OP 1133456, Licensee is AJK Cafe Inc.
Hi, this is Kayla O'Donnell again, on behalf of Council's Office, seeking an emergency order of summary suspension for AJK Cafe Inc., doing business as Tempest Bar. This license was issued on December 12, 2002 to operate a tavern on 8th Avenue in Manhattan. Last night, the task force visited the licensed premises. As the photos in the record before you depict, they found numerous violations of the governor's executive orders. The photos really do speak for themselves, especially in this particular case. However, the investigators observed at least 20 patrons standing outside the premises consuming alcoholic beverages. The investigators went inside the premises and found another 20 patrons inside the premises at the bar standing consuming alcoholic beverages. Notably, inside consumption has been banned in New York City since March. Neither of the bartenders inside the premises were wearing face coverings. There were 2 bartenders. The investigators asked to speak to the person in charge, and an individual named Joe came out and said that he was a part owner. He wasn't wearing a face covering either. There's only one sole principal of this license, and his name is Anthony Joseph Kennedy. The investigators believe that this individual is actually the sole principal, Anthony Joseph Kennedy. However, Joe refused to produce any identification to the investigators. Joe also refused to take the violation letter. He became enraged and was screaming obscenities and making derogatory comments about the mayor and the governor to the investigators. He then incited patrons to circle the investigators, and they began yelling and cursing at the investigators. The licensee is being charged with violating Executive Order 202.3, 202.38, 202.43, and 202.16, as well as failure to supervise for their conduct on this date. Additionally, on July 30th, task force investigators observed, as the photos in the record before you depict, at least 1 patron standing next to tables in front of licensed premises, talking to other patrons while not wearing a face covering. A bartender was also found to not be wearing a face covering on this date. There were at least 10 patrons outside the premises, and while they may have ordered food an hour and a half earlier, as the bartender claims, at the time they were not eating any food, and the bartender was serving them shots and beers, which they were consuming in front of the investigators. Notably, only outside dining is permitted at this time, not outside drinking. The licensee is being charged with violating Executive Orders 202.38, 202.43, 202.16, and failure to supervise in connection with observations made on that date. The licensee's conduct last night was egregious and cannot be tolerated. The executive orders were designed to prevent the spread of the coronavirus and keep people safe. This licensee and its sole principal, especially, cannot be trusted to follow the law even when the health of patrons and the employees and the community depend on it. In order to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the inhabitants of the area of the licensed premises, this license must be summarily suspended. Thank you.
All right, then, with that, Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have questions. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
And Chairman Bradley.
I have no question.
All right, then we'll call for the vote. First, Commissioner Fan.
This licensee violated multiple of the governor's executive orders surrounding COVID-19. With the evidence presented by counsel, I find that there is imminent threat to public health, safety, and welfare, and I vote to summarily suspend this license.
Commissioner Ford, your vote.
Serving people inside, patrons outside, staying and congregating, ignoring social distancing. Okay, that means wrap it up. I vote to summarily suspend this license.
Chairman Bradley.
I vote to summarily suspend as well. Any premise behaving like this in New York City at this point in time, after all of the press and after all of the publication about the number of investigators that are out every night in New York City looking for this type of behavior, the only conclusion you can come to when you find it is that this is absolutely a blatant disregard for the governor's executive orders, and it has created a blatant risk to the public health. So I vote to summarily suspend.
All right, then the next item we have is 929 DDDD. New York AX 1281301, Juanito's Grocery Corp.
Good afternoon. Jamie Gallagher appearing for the authority. This matter is being brought before you today for consideration of an emergency summary order of suspension pursuant to Section 401 sub 3 of the State Administrative Procedure Act. This is a little different from what we've been seeing. The matter, this premises was licensed as a grocery store on January 5th of 2015. It is located at 144 Sherman Avenue in an area zoned as mixed use. On August 14th, Investigator Stravali observed that this premises was operating as an open-air nightclub. At least 24 patrons were congregating, standing and sitting outside the premises, drinking alcoholic beverages from plastic cups and beer bottles. Several were standing and drinking without masks. The premises had set up an outdoor seating area in front of the licensed premises with a carpet, tables, and chairs. A speaker was set up on a tripod on the sidewalk in front of the premises playing music, and at least 3 patrons were observed dancing. To the right of the speaker was a window that the premises was using as an unauthorized point of sale and delivery of alcoholic beverages to the patrons on the sidewalk. The service window is not shown on any diagram submitted to the authority with the license application. There's a wall shown. Opened and sealed bottles of liquor were found in the premises, and patrons were observed drinking what appeared to be liquor in plastic cups. Patrons were permitted to enter the premises without masks, and at least 2 staff were observed without masks as well. The premises possessed behind the counter and was offering for sale prescription medication, including various forms of medications that are more particularly described in Exhibit 3, which is before you, the police report. This was a lot of pills. It wasn't just 1 or 2. The clerk was arrested and charged with Penal Law Section 178.10, which is criminal diversion of prescription medication. This premises is being charged with the following: improper conduct for violation of Executive Order 202.43, improper conduct for a violation of Executive Order 202.16, improper conduct for criminal diversion of prescription medications, sale without appropriate license or permit for selling liquor when they are not licensed to do so, as well as for operating as a essentially on premises nightclub when they're not licensed to do so. Non-bona fide extension of premises for having that window point of sale and providing alcoholic beverages to patrons on the sidewalk through said window. And they had unauthorized alterations as well. The notice will issue promptly. Everything about this operation was just flagrantly illegal. I'm not even sure I need to go on about why this is so wrong. I think the more appropriate question at this point is, what laws and regulations were they not violating? They're operating out of class, they're selling out of class alcohol, they're selling prescription drugs. They're allowing multiple violations of the executive orders, which are designed specifically to protect the public's health, welfare, and safety. They created an illegal nightclub on the sidewalk in front of a grocery store. It is respectfully requested that the board issue an immediate summary order of suspension of this premises license.
All right, with that, Commissioner Fan.
Council Gallagher, forgive me, but what kind of prescription medication are these?
There was some antibiotics. Yeah, there's antibiotics. There was Cialis and Viagra and various forms of erectile dysfunction medications. Ampatrex, I'm not really even sure what that is.
Okay.
But there were 113 ampicillina, 20 pills of sildenafil, 12 pills of Ampatrex, 26 pills of Cialis, in addition to the bottles of hard liquor that were located behind the register and in the refrigerator. The ones in the refrigerator were opened. They had the little like airplane bottles behind the register to sell to people.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
Counselor, I'm assuming they didn't have a permit for a New York City permit for the outside tables.
They did not.
Okay. I just wanted to ask an obvious question. Thank you.
Yes.
All right then, Chairman Bradley, do you have any questions?
Where do I? Yeah, I do, but not really relevant to this proceeding. So, no, I don't.
Okay then. We're going to call for the vote. Commissioner Fan.
Sometimes you can't make it up. This licensee has violated the governor's executive order designed to contain the spread of COVID-19 in our state. This grocery store has acted as an on-premise nightclub with all sorts of illegal items that are not supposed to be for sale there, and they're not supposed to be serving on premise. They're also, allowing customers to drink with open containers, no mask, no social distancing. And so due to immediate threat to public safety, health and welfare, I vote to summarily suspend this license.
All right, Commissioner Ford.
Let me just start with saying what I think the chairman was about to say, which is, where do I begin? Selling prescription drugs, a grocery store that's only licensed for beer and wine with hard liquor, with everything else that they're doing wrong, they're attracting attention to themselves by playing loud music out front. They're basically operating as a nightclub, patrons dancing on the streets. I guess we could go on, but without a doubt, I vote to summarily suspend this license, and I don't think they should ever get it back.
Chairman Bradley.
I agree with Commissioner Ford. I mean, these pictures are, for lack of a better word, unbelievable. They appear to be selling drinks and handing out cups for people to drink with them on tables out in front of the place, and it appears some of the cups contain the hard liquor as well as beer. I'm absolutely astonished at this behavior, but there's no other choice here but to summarily suspend.
Okay then, the next item I have is 929EEEE, Kings OP 1275894, Rico Pollo No. 2 Restaurant Corp.
I am going to have to recuse myself. This was on, correct me if I'm wrong, but this was on, the observations were made on August 13th, and I was at the location when the observations were made.
Correct.
All right. In that case, good afternoon, Commissioner Fan, Commissioner Ford, Senior Attorney Caraminal here on behalf of Counsel's Office. This request for summary order of suspension for Rico Pollo No. 2 Restaurant, case number 147011. Original license issue date here is February 28, 2014. Let's see, August 13th, 2020, at approximately 8:30 p.m., Investigator Charles Travale observed a crowd of 5 to 10 patrons clustered in the interior of the premises, waiting in line and not observing social distancing or wearing proper face masks. Investigator Travale also observed a table set up on the sidewalk where one patron was consuming food and beverages. The table was not in accordance with the approved New York City Department of Transportation plan on file for this location. Investigator Travale subsequently observed 2 individuals consuming food and beverages at a table inside the interior of the premises. Let's see, Investigator Travale counted at least 10 employees not properly wearing facial coverings, or in the case of kitchen staff, wearing no facial coverings at all. The kitchen itself was observed to be in an extremely unsanitary state, to quote Investigator Travale. They had wet and greasy floors in a dangerous condition. At one point, Investigator Travale, when I spoke to him, said he witnessed one staffer, quote, scooting some unidentified kitchen slop, unquote, into the off of the kitchen floor and into a large cooking pot. When confronted by Investigator Travale, the manager stated he can't control patrons as they do whatever they want at the premises. And before exiting the premises, investigators probably noted the following additional violations. There was no business certificate posted. There were no pregnancy warning signs posted. One obstructed fire extinguisher was not inspected properly. Another fire extinguisher was improperly mounted to a wall. There was no New York forward reopening plan available on site for inspection. The licensee is being charged with violating Executive Order 202.16, 202.3, 202.38, as well as failure to supervise for these violations. The need for licensees to ensure their premises are being operated in a safe and healthy manner during the reopening is essential to the governor's executive orders in the name of public health and safety, and has been widely reported via media sources. As a result, it is the position of the Office of Counsel that it's simply not reasonable to believe that a licensed retailer in New York City could be unaware of his responsibilities to ensure proper face mask usage by patrons as well as staff, proper social distancing by patrons consuming food and beverages as well as those waiting for orders, and preventing on-premises consumption of food and beverages during the reopening. In fact, when confronted by task force investigators, the licensee's manager did not deny the premises had sold alcoholic beverages to patrons without food. He didn't deny that they didn't sell without food. He didn't deny that the patrons were improperly lined up and congregating in his premises while they were waiting for their food orders. It's therefore the opinion of Office of Counsel. Licensee was fully aware of the need to properly operate his licensed premises in accordance with the governor's executive orders, and simply has chosen not to do so. In fact, this licensee in particular, given the condition of the licensed premises, the filthy condition of the kitchen as described by investigator Cervalli, is likely an issue whether or not there's a COVID pandemic going on. Due to the foregoing, the Office of Counsel hereby requests an immediate summary order of suspension be issued for this licensee. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, it's Gary. I just want to add that this seems to be a situation where because of executive order violations, our investigators were attracted to this location. And then when they went inside, they found health issues that probably would have caused us to bring this case to the board for a summary suspension anyway. We were there for the executive order policing and the task force, but this is a place that's posing a danger to the people who are standing there just because they want to eat. So it's for the board to address. Thank you.
All right, then, Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have a question.
Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
So, Counselor, you said that this is probably a good thing in your case that no food was being sold.
Oh no, there were patrons waiting in line for their food orders, and they were congregating in the inside without facial coverings and proper socially distancing.
And so they were serving food.
They were serving food, yes.
Not that you'd want to eat it, from what they reported.
Not after reading that report.
Wow. So are we going to report this to Department of Health?
Yes.
You should, yes. Okay. All right. I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
Chairman Bradley, do you have any questions? Oh, you're recused. I'm sorry. Okay, we'll call for the vote now. Commissioner Fan.
This licensee has violated the governor's executive orders designed to contain the spread of COVID-19 in our state. Given the evidence presented by counsel, I find that there's imminent threat to public health, welfare, and safety, and I vote to summarily suspend this license.
Commissioner Ford.
Indoor service, employee masks, out of compliance with New York City DOT. Patron standing, consuming without social distancing, no business certificate, no pregnancy sign, improperly mounted fire extinguisher. Another one was obstructed. To say the kitchen was unsanitary is an understatement, and no New York forward plan available. So along with Commissioner Fan, I vote to summarily suspend this license.
All right, then we'll move to the next item. 929 quadruple F. New York OP 1186537, Picante Inc.
Good afternoon again, members. Jamie Gallagher appearing on behalf of the authority. This matter is being brought before you today for consideration of an emergency summary order of suspension pursuant to Section 401 Sub 3 of the State Administrative Procedure Act. This licensee was licensed May 25th of 2007 as a restaurant located at 3424 Broadway, Manhattan. It is located in an area zoned as a business district. On August 15th of 2020, so this morning, investigator Charles Travali visited the premises beginning at 12:56 a.m. At this time, he observed that the premises was still open and operating almost 2 hours past the New York City curfew of 11 p.m. The premises was operating as a nightclub with music being pumped to the outside. There was a DJ stationed inside in a front window area where the DJ station was, and there were at least 5 patrons standing at the interior bar drinking. Additionally, at least 10 patrons were standing outside in front of the premises at this time without masks, lingering, congregating, and drinking. And sale and consumption of beverages was occurring at a stand-up bar window set up on the sidewalk. 10 more patrons were seated outside. This is all, again, past the 11 o'clock curfew, at tables and chairs, drinking what appeared to be alcoholic beverages. The tables and chairs were on the sidewalk, which did not conform with the diagram that was submitted and was not within the New York City DOT guidelines, nor was there anything in the diagram about this service area outdoors. 4 kitchen staff were found without masks inside. One of these was observed preparing one meal. So there was at least one meal being prepared, but 99.9% of the people were just drinking alcoholic beverages. Pre-mixed sangria containing red wine and vodka was found in the premises in a dispenser with a pouring spout. Guest checks were examined and showed no food being sold, only drinks. Investigator Travali requested distributor invoices, and the person who identified as the manager stated they were not kept on site. That person is not listed in the records of the authority. The premises method of operation states that no manager will be employed. This premises is allowing indoor service. It's been illegal since March 16th to serve inside in New York City. And there's no way that the manager or owner or shift manager could be unaware of that given the current environment. The premises was open past curfew. Again, there's no way that this premises could be unaware of that rule this far into New York on pause. That a diagram was submitted showing one layout of their expanded area and a completely different operation and layout was observed during the inspection is a notable issue. That again establishes to the board that they can have no confidence that this premises will abide by these or any executive orders. In addition to other issues, this premises was operating as a nightclub, after hours, serving drinks without food and allowing a stand-up bar service for drinks outside to standing, unmasked, congregating patrons, both inside and out. The premises is being charged with failure to comply with Executive Order 202.3, 202.38, 202.43, 202.16, and 202.52. Pre-mixing, unauthorized additional bar, failure to supervise, and a books and records violation. The charges are entered and the notice will issue promptly. These executive orders were put in place with the purpose of protecting the public health, welfare, and safety imminently at risk in the midst of a deadly viral pandemic, and to prevent people from congregating in and around licensed establishments in such a way that viral transmission will be likely. This premises is operating in direct violation of multiple executive orders, continue to do so past curfew. Given that the licensee cannot and will not follow the conditions set by these executive orders to protect the public health, welfare, and safety, it is respectfully requested that the board issue an immediate summary order of suspension in this matter. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
No, I do not have any questions. Thank you, Jamie.
Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
No, Tom, I don't have any questions.
Chairman Bradley.
No, I don't have any questions.
All right, with that, I'll call for the vote. Commissioner Fan.
With indoor service and a stand-up bar outside, loud music playing, and no food service past curfew, this licensee has committed really egregious violations of the governor's executive order that were designed to contain the spread of COVID-19 in our state. Given the evidence presented by counsel, I find there is imminent threat to public health, welfare, and safety, and I vote to summarily suspend this license.
Commissioner Ford.
It's been almost 2 hours past curfew. Patrons standing and congregating out front without masks. Premises being operated basically as a nightclub with a live DJ inside. With patrons drinking inside the bar, unsecured gas tanks, pre-mixed sangria, no substantial service of food, and employing a manager, which is unauthorized. So I vote to summarily suspend this license as well.
Chairman Bradley.
I vote to summarily suspend. They pretty much hit a grand slam on the executive order violations here, and I agree with Council Gallagher that there is absolutely no indication that this licensee is capable or willing to follow any of the executive orders, so there's no choice but to summarily suspend.
All right then. I have no other items on the calendar. Chairman Bradley, do you have anything else you want to bring up at the meeting?
No, I'm all set. Thank you. Thank you all for working today. Gary, thank all your lawyers.
Will do. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
All right,
Thank
with
you.
that, this meeting is adjourned.